A few days ago, I said yes to something I didn't want to do. I smiled, acted normal, and the whole time I was thinking, why am I like this? And then it hit me. Maybe I'm not a good person. Maybe I'm just scared of being judged. Let me ask you something. Have you ever agreed with someone even though you completely disagreed inside? Have you ever laughed at something that wasn't even funny just so it wouldn't get awkward? Have you ever said yes to plans knowing you had more important things to do? And there's this voice in your head the whole time going, why did I just do that? Exactly, that's what I'm talking about. Because growing up, we were taught something very simple: be nice, be a good person, be polite, and on the surface, that sounds right. But look deeper. Being nice often means avoiding conflict, being polite often means hiding truth, and being a good person often means being agreeable. So we learn to smile even when we don't feel like it, say yes to things that we don't want to do, and when we should speak. And over time, we stopped asking ourselves one important question: is this actually me? There's a philosopher named Friedrich Nietzsche who had a very uncomfortable idea. What if morality is not a universal truth? What if it's something that was created by people for a purpose? Think about it like this: every society needs order. Without it, everything falls apart. So how do you create order? You don't just control people physically, you control them psychologically. You create a long list of rules, you reward people who follow them, and you punish the ones who don't. And soon enough, you learned one thing: these are not mere rules. They start feeling like the truth. This is something that has exactly happened to you. In school, the obedient student was praised, the quiet one was called well behaved, but the one who questioned things, problematic. Right? And slowly, what did we learn? Fitting in equals to good, and standing out equals to dangerous. And slowly, without realizing it, we started shaping our entire personality around that. Nietzsche described this using two ideas: master morality and slave morality. Now, don't get thrown off by names. This isn't about power or status. It's about mindset. Masters are people who define their own values. They ask, what do I believe is right? Slaves inherit their values. They ask, what do all of these people think of me? A master values truth, even if it's uncomfortable. A slave values approval, even if it's fake. A master says no when they mean no. A slave says yes and resents it later. A master has no problem being alone. He would still feel whole, or she would still feel whole. But a slave needs constant validation to feel okay, to feel alive. And here's the uncomfortable truth: most of us have been trained to be slave, not because we are weak, but because we were conditioned that way. Because humans don't just want to survive, we want to belong, we want to be accepted, we want to be liked, we want to feel like we are part of something. So we adjust, we filter ourselves, we edit our personality, we become digestible. And the system has a very powerful tool to keep you in line: guilt. You feel guilty for saying no, guilty for choosing yourself, guilty for not being nice enough, even when being nice is hurting you. Think about that. So, what happens to the real you? The anger you never expressed, the opinions you never shared, the boundaries you never set. They don't disappear. They get buried, and that buried version of you becomes your shadow. And shadows don't stay quiet forever. They show up in weird ways: sudden anger, passive aggressive behavior, random frustration you can't even explain. Ever snapped at someone and later thought, why did I react like that? Exactly. That's the part of you that you've been suppressing, finding a way out. And I'm not saying this from a high place. I've lived this. I would say yes to hanging out with people even when I had exams. I would say things that I didn't believe in just to fit in. I was simply being afraid of rejection, afraid of not being accepted. And when I realized this, it hit hard. It made me question everything about myself. I started asking myself, was I actually being good at the time, or was I scared of being rejected? So no, I'm not saying you to stop being a good person, just disagree with everything just for the sake of disagreeing. No, I'm not saying all of those things. I'm simply saying, wake up. When are you really choosing, and when are you just obeying? When are you just being kind, and when are you really being afraid? Because those are not the same thing. Real goodness comes from a choice, not fear, not conditioning, not the need to be liked. So maybe you are not a good person. Maybe you are just afraid of being rejected. And if this made you question even one thing about yourself, you are ahead of most people. So stick around. We are going deeper.